still think that's the coolest open we have. Right there. A little abrupt at the end. We need to kind of trail.
A little abrupt. It's perfect.
Okay, perfect. Terrorism, the worldwide terror threat, and a clock that was briefly mistaken for terrorism. There's Ben Ferguson.
Yeah, do we only have 4 minutes tonight, really?
Well, no, I was going to say it's time for the Fox 4. The longest 4 minutes or the fastest 6 minutes. It's, it's something in between there. Okay, so Ben, let's talk about the attorney for the teenager who we keep calling a clockmaker. I'm not sure. His name's Ahmed Mohammed, demanding $15 million from the city of Irving. And, $10 million the city, $5 million from the ISD, or else they'll sue, pain and suffering. They have a case, you think?
No. This kid loved every moment of it. I saw him walking into a TV studio when I had to do TV one night. He was obsessed with the cameras the same way the Kardashians were. I should say. He's obsessed with it. He loves it. Walking to his front door, waving to everybody, saying, "Look at me, I'm wearing my NASA shirt." Does he ever at any point look like a victim? This was a pre-planned idea by his father. I think he used his son. He is one of those, I'm going to point out anyone that's against Islam type of guy. I'm going to cause problems. They pre-planned this. It looked like a bomb. He also didn't create a clock. He took a clock apart and he put it in a mini briefcase to make it look like a bomb. He did not associate and or talk to any of the teachers or the police when they asked him questions, except to say it is a clock. He was never afraid. He was never nervous.
Ben,
and he loves the cameras like the Kardashians. So if anything, congratulations, you're famous and you've caused a bunch of people problems.
Let me ask you something, though. Let me play devil's advocate.
Sure.
Maybe he says, I can never get my anonymity back. I love the limelight for a minute, but now I can't go back to who I was.
Well, you know what? Maybe you should have thought about that before you made a clock look like a bomb, and then you wouldn't be in the situation you're in. But he has become famous. Anywhere he goes, people love him because he's staying in that world. He's been speaking at all these conferences. He had a fund set up for this free education. He left this country to go to another country. Then he says he wants to come back to Irving. And I'm sitting there going, who's stopping you? No one is stopping you. If you want to come back, come back. But $15 million is going to fix this?
And does that damage him? There were a lot of people who supported him, felt sorry for him. Do you think
it's a money grab?
Turns anybody?
Well, if he wants to know if people don't like him, get $15 million from the taxpayers in Irving and then go back to school and see who likes you for taking $15 million after what just happened in Paris. And the fact is, you have young people now that have been told if you see something, say something. These teachers did not go to the extreme. They had something that looked like it might be an explosive device. They made the right call. Okay. You don't get paid $15 million for doing something that looks like it could be a bomb.
All right, we got to move ahead, and the clock is ticking. Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings went on MSNBC this weekend talking about the governor's intention to try to block Syrian refugees from coming into Texas. Let's listen to his words.
ISIS is no more Islamic than the Nazi senior staff was Christian. And so we've got to differentiate between those, fight the fight that we need to do. I am more fearful of large gatherings of young white men that come into schools, theaters, and shoot people up, but we don't isolate young white men on this issue.
All right, Ben, that's everywhere. Everywhere. What do you make of it?
I beg the White House to go ahead and appoint him to the United Nations or some other country so you can please take him out of Dallas. This is one of the most naive comments I've ever heard carrying water for this White House, to say that he's more afraid of white men in this country and saying that ISIS is not somehow part of Islam. It is part of Islam, and it's an extreme part of Islam, but everything they do it by saying Allah Akbar. Don't tell me it's not a part of Islam. There are people that are part of Islam that are very peaceful, and ISIS is a part of Islam that's not very peaceful. But for him to act like it's somehow separate of the two is just incredibly naive or flat out stupid.
And I'm not sure if he'd want to walk it back, because he talked about
large
gatherings of white men. There have been school shootings, and there
haven't been large gatherings of white men doing these shootings either. The biggest one was Columbine or Jonesboro, and that was how many people? 3, 4?
2 in Columbine.
Yeah.
All right. It was a 4-minute interview. He said he agreed with Governor Abbott on a number of things. But is this orchestrated? Is this a political thing? Democratic mayors like Rawlings in states with the Republican governors going after them? You think this is coordinated in some way?
This isn't just coordinated. This is literally resume shopping. I think it's pretty obvious that Mike Rawlings wants to have a bigger platform, whether that be through working for the administration or running for a bigger office. And these types of things, I guess he thinks, is going to help him with minority voters to say, I'm afraid of white men, and ISIS is somehow not a part of Islam. I don't know who his political advisor is, is because I think it's a terrible political talking point. I also think it's completely, separated from reality here. And it worries me that we have a mayor that literally thinks that ISIS is somehow not a part of Islam, but guys like me are the scariest people that he's worried about. I'd keep your eye on the ball after Paris, Mayor, and realize there are people that want to harm us, and they want to come and attack, and they've already named American cities.
Ben, I've seen your Twitter feed. You've seen my viewers' voice. There are people who are scared of you and don't like you.
I'm okay with that.
I got news for you.
We'll keep the conversation going.
Kelly, how'd we do? Is this a short 6 minutes? A minute and a half over. Okay.
No big deal.
Sure it is. Find Ben on Twitter at Ben Ferguson Show or on Facebook, Ben Ferguson Show. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, man.